Sosuke, the coldest man in anime history. We're talking about the guy who did the most disrespectful thing you could ever do. He stopped Ichigo's theme song.
I'm getting played right now, aren't I?
Okay, but for reals, Aizen was capable of completely obliterating every captain of the Gote 13 without even using a Bankai. I mean, this guy is just on a different level. He can't lose in any situation. And you're probably wondering why. Is it because of his immense power? No! Because of his insane Shikai? No! It is in fact because everything was all part of his plan. From the very beginning, Aizen was behind the scenes, manipulating everyone to his desire. I mean, he even brought Ichigo into existence.
Hey yo, what the?
Okay, no, not in that way.
Sussy baka.
Listen guys, no doubt that Aizen is truly terrifying. But what makes things even more scary is that we haven't even seen his full power and Bankai, which is to stop time.
No way.
To understand how we figured this out, we have to go all the way back to his origins. Aizen was always someone quite devious. With his immense talent and skills, he became the lieutenant of the 5th Division under the direct command of Captain Shinji Hirako. From the start, he kept following his captain around, formulating his plans carefully with each step. Furthermore, he showed extreme interest in the then captain of the 12th Division, Kisuke Urahara. This is all due to his shared interest in the Hogyuku, which was an object that could nullify the gap between a Soul Reaper and a Hollow, allowing one race to gain the powers of another. To reach this new height, Aizen was willing to sacrifice and manipulate anyone he required. But the thing is, Shinji always knew that he was a dangerous person. Hence, the real reason Aizen was promoted to lieutenant was so he could keep a closer eye on him. Little did Shinji know that this would be the greatest mistake of his life. Even back then, Aizen's power far surpassed most captains, easily blocking Tasai's Kido, who mind you, was the leader of the Kido Corps. And not only was it from a Kido master, it was a full incantation in the 90s. I bet we will never see anyone stop a Kido this powerful with such ease again. Anyways, one fateful night, the incident that would be the catalyst for Aizen's plan would come into fruition. You see, a bunch of Shinigamis went missing, including QUINCY, the 9th Division captain, and when Shinji appeared to investigate, he was in for a massive shock. Not only did he discover that Tosin had betrayed the 9th Division, but all along, he was actually following Aizen's orders. And though Shinji thought he had the upper hand, revealing the real motive of making Aizen a lieutenant, Aizen just laughed. Because whilst Shinji was playing checkers, Aizen was playing chess. Shinji might have kept Aizen close, but not close enough. All this time, the Aizen that had been following Shinji around at a distance was but a fake. Yes, it was all an illusion thanks to Aizen's Zanpakto, Kyoka Suigetsu. But since Shinji never paid close attention to Aizen's mannerism, he never noticed this huge change. And here came our first chance to really understand who Aizen is as a person. Because the truth is, Aizen is lonely. Talk about being relatable for a lot of you guys. I'm just kidding there. I'm joking. But seriously though, due to Aizen's nature as a prodigy, he never had anyone who could truly understand him as an equal, which left an empty hole in his heart. Get it? Hole, hollow, okay, never mind. Aizen even tells Shinji that had he tried getting to know him, he would have figured out his intent much earlier. And after giving that badass speech, Aizen made his move to kill Shinji, only to be stopped by none other than the legend himself, Kisuke Urahara. Yeah boy! Urahara immediately deduces that Aizen was the mastermind behind the multiple disappearance and the holification happening around. This made Aizen even more cautious about Urahara's incredible big brain, which rivaled his own. My guy was so shook, or at least didn't want to take any chances, to the point that Aizen actually framed Urahara alongside Tasai for the crimes he himself had committed, just so to take them out of the picture. What's worse is that Shinji was also banished from Soul Society, since the Gote 13 believed he had willingly tried holification. You see, all of this was for Aizen's ultimate objective, which was to stand at the very top of the heavens by overthrowing the Soul King himself. Aizen understood that the current king wasn't a true ruler, rather was just a pawn used to uphold the balance in the universe. But Aizen sought greater purpose as becoming the king of Soul Society. He would, in his own words, end the unbearable vacancy on the world's throne. This desire would even creep out early on in his plans, where Aizen, being a master at controlling his emotions, wasn't able to hide his shock in hearing the news of Kiryu Hikifune, the previous 12th Division captain, being accepted into the Royal Guards. Aizen's scheme continued as he leveled himself up in the Gote 13 hierarchy, taking over as the captain of the 5th Division, whilst secretly visiting Hyukomundo to build his army, becoming their leader. This army included the 10 Espada of the Arankas, who are said to be even stronger than the captains of Gote 13. This actually speaks volumes for Aizen, as he not only commanded but also instilled absolute fear in them. But Aizen's plan were about to get even more interesting, because during this time he came across Ichigo's parents, leading them in birthing the most overpowered protagonist we have ever seen. Like, gosh damn, Ichigo is a Shinigami, QUINCY, Fullbringer, literally hollow, everything into the mix, a Soul King material. Now, if you guys want to know more about Ichigo's origin, then make sure to watch this video next. Regardless, Aizen had already factored Ichigo into his plans right from his birth, expressing a deep interest in him. This is when, during Ichigo's story, we see the fruits of Aizen's treachery and masterful planning play out in the Soul Society arc. The first step in Aizen's big plan was to fool everyone in Soul Society. He made them, and even his lieutenant, believe he was a just and good captain. Well, until he faked his death, stabbed his lieutenant, and waged war against the entirety of Soul Society. Only a man like Aizen was capable enough to do this. Aizen's feats and overall power is nothing to scoff at. Remember guys, we haven't even seen his Bankai, yet he owned everyone like they were fodder. But more on his Bankai in a bit, because Aizen, being a sort of scientist himself, had developed multiple inventions other than the Hogyuku. He even researched holification and dug deeper into the science behind hollows and the realm of Hyukomundo. On top of his high intellect, Aizen was a Kido and Shumpo master, along with his mastery in swordsmanship and Hakuda. Aizen also had an unnaturally high spiritual power, even for the ranks of a captain. My man was so strong, he blocked Ichigo's blade in the Bankai state with a single finger. My gosh damn! But Aizen stepping on the main character's wrist is the least of his achievements, as he later becomes immortal. Well, to a certain degree. By fusing with the Hogyuku, Aizen went through an evolution beyond comprehension. He literally evolved like a butterfly. In this new state, Aizen easily slaps up the 3 busted ex-captains, Yoruichi, Urahara, and Isshin. That's not even talking about Ichigo, who at this point was paralyzed in complete fear, simply from the Chad energy Aizen was projecting. But leaving aside this insane transformation and growth due to his merger with the Hogyuku, Aizen's biggest strength is the combination of his high IQ and Zanpakto. Aizen's Zanpakto's name is Kyoka Suigetsu. In its base form, it looks like a normal samurai katana. But Aizen's Shikai is one of the most broken abilities in Bleach. Like, it literally needs 10 patches of nerfs. The whole concept of this Shikai Bankai is that the enemy is defeated as soon as they see Kyoka Suigetsu at the exact moment it is released. Yes, in that one moment, it's game over. That's because its special ability called Gunzen Simon allows Aizen to control all 5 senses of a person to misinterpret anything he wants them to. Their mind instantly falls into the palm of his hand. With this broken ability, Aizen managed to slide into Gote 13, become a captain, fake his death, and fool even Yhwach, the strongest man to exist. Being a genius and a master manipulator, Aizen planned literally everything ever, including you liking this video, hitting the notification bell, and becoming part of our chat community. But now, the moment you all have been waiting for, Aizen's Bankai. Wait, he has one, right? Oh shoot, really? I guess the video's over.
No, Yusuf. Listen, despite having been the main antagonist for a long time, we never once saw his Bankai. But this then poses the question, if he had a Bankai, why didn't Aizen ever use it? The only enemy Aizen would have needed a Bankai against was Ichigo, because he was the only one not under the spell of the Kyoka Suigetsu. But even in their showdown, eating a massive Mugetsu attack wasn't enough to kill him. Aizen recovered pretty quickly from this, all thanks to fusing with the Hogyoku. Regardless, we have plenty of clues hinting that Aizen actually does have a Bankai. The novel Spirits Are Forever With You specifically brings up Aizen's Bankai in a conversation about the limitations of Bankai, stating that even for Aizen's Shikai to work, his opponent has to see the Zanpakto's blade. Another key point indicating Aizen's hidden Bankai is Byakuya stating a Shinigami with Bankai should be able to summon their Shikai without calling its name. Throughout the series, Aizen released his Shikai without calling its command Shatter, clearly indicating that he has achieved the prerequisite to have a Bankai. Moreover, according to Yoruichi, the very act of achieving a Bankai involves subjugating the Zanpakto's spirit. This means that a Shinigami has to manifest their sword spirit and bring it under their control. This whole act is in line with the big idea of Aizen's character itself, as he wanted to dominate the entire Soul Society by toppling the current Soul King and deity of the Bleach universe. And since we already know that Kyoka Suigetsu affects all senses of the opponent to create an illusion, we can theorize that his Bankai impacts the one factor that messes up a person's perception the most: time. Yes, even though he was locked up in the underground prison, Aizen had a crucial role in defeating the QUINCY king himself, Yhwach or Yhwach. I don't know, you guys have 1 billion pronunciation of this guy's name and you keep roasting me in the comments about it. Anyway, this all started when Yhwach decided to recruit Aizen to his cause because they both shared a common goal, and that is for the annihilation of the Soul King. But during this conversation, despite Aizen being restrained, he still managed to mess with Yhwach's sense of time, tricking him into wasting more time than he thought. Aizen's Shikai clearly has the ability to manipulate a person's senses, but distorting the perception of time isn't a part of it. Even if his target is seeing a false reality, the duration itself should still be the same. But for Yhwach, it wasn't. How did Aizen do this, if not for this time manipulation ability? This would also explain Aizen's calmness in receiving a 20,000-year-long sentence in the lowest level of Muken. Remember guys, due to the Hogyoku, Aizen became one with his Zanpakto and its powers. Even after being rejected by the Hogyoku, it's clear that Aizen can perform his Zanpakto's ability without the need for it. But after Yhwach kills the Soul King, Shunsui, who has now become the new Captain General, frees Aizen for the sake of fighting Yhwach. He was given 3 keys to remove some of his seals, but despite only using one, unsealing Aizen's mouth, he undid several other seals by himself. Though he still wasn't unsealed completely, one of the attendants dares to try to bind Aizen down, but Aizen's shared Chad's spiritual pressure totally disintegrated the attendee's fingers. This shows how crazy his spiritual pressure is, even after losing the Hogyoku. Aizen's presence alone proved extremely crucial in battle against Yhwach. Using his 9,999 IQ, he deduced that the black creatures created by the Soul King could be simply destroyed with the use of Ryatsu, saving everyone time from slashing away with their Zanpakto. Being still bound to the chair, Aizen could only use a limited fraction of his full power. But even then, this Chad managed to use Hado 90, a high-level spell, to blast away all the creatures. Though Aizen had ulterior motives with his attack, you know, my guy wants to finally stand and take a piss like a normal person, so his real target was the chair that bound him. He's tired of sitting on his ass. But with a major twist, it turns out this freaking chair is just as OP as him. Yeah, you heard that right. It turns out it was specifically created by Mayuri to limit Aizen's power. So even an attack to bring down the Soul King's palace didn't work against it. It isn't until way later when Yhwach has succeeded in absorbing the Soul King and makes his way back down to the destroyed Soul Society when he meets Aizen again. This attack consequently finally freed Aizen to go all out on the QUINCY King himself. Yhwach wonders why Aizen would defend the Soul Society even though he had already succeeded, to which Aizen responds that he's not defending Soul Society but repelling those who try to suppress and control him. Not even the QUINCY King, son of God, could stop Aizen. And this is when Ichigo joins the battle. This is where the legendary team up between Ichigo and Aizen vs Yhwach begins. Oh, and Renji, but he doesn't last too long. Renji is the king of taking L's in this show. He lost every fight. Anyway, there is another plot twist. Aizen actually protects him against Yhwach. Yhwach explains that he saw through all of Aizen's mind control, understanding who was who in the entire fight. But he underestimated our goal. As Yhwach pierces his arm through Ichigo, it turns out that it was actually Aizen himself.
That's why he's the GOAT!
Even with his busted power of Almighty, Yhwach couldn't see through Aizen's big brain. This gave Ichigo the opportunity to stab straight through Yhwach's neck and hit him with a huge Getsuga Tensho. Aizen knew that Kyoka Sugetsu's power would not work on Ichigo and that his whole plan revolved around that factor. Well, the fight isn't over because Yhwach comes out of literally nowhere and takes Aizen out of the fight.
That's some bullshit.
This guy was completely defeated by Aizen and Ichigo, but with some major plot armor, like changing the future where he dies. The guy actually died, but the plot was like, nah, bruh, we ain't done yet. Eventually, of course, our boy Ichigo defeats the plot itself, but regardless, without Aizen, Ichigo and the Soul Society would have been doomed. 10 years later, we find out that after the climactic battle, Aizen was sealed again. It looks like he has accepted his fate and explains that in the world Yhwach hoped to create, there would be no suffering, surely, but it is from suffering alone that hope rises. And with no hope, life simply isn't worth living. People will persist simply by being alive, but persistence whilst fending off fear is something entirely different. That is why people have a special name for it. They call it courage. After this, he sits there contemplating all of the decisions he made, and that's where Aizen's story comes to its end. If you want to understand Ichigo's QUINCY powers and how he was able to defeat Yhwach, like we just explained 1 minute ago, watch this video displayed on your screen right now.